everyone, this video is going to help with 7th grades 2-3, and that's the constant of proportionality. This really follows our last section because now they want you to do the y over x and that relationship that we were deciding if it had, right, if it was proportional. Now you have to find that value. What is it? So let's look at this first example here. We have number of bricks and the length in centimeters of the brick, right? And so one brick is 20, two bricks is 40, and so forth. So you can see that pattern. Now this would have been x, y. So it's the same way. So x is always the first row. And if it's this way, right, as a column or a row, it's always the first one is x, second one's y. And they want the constant to always be y divided by x. So when we look at this, they did it here. They took y divided by x on each of them, and look what they got. The same answer across the board. 20 divided by 1 is 20. 40 divided by 2 is 20. 60 divided by 3 is 20. So we know that they're proportional. And our constant of proportionality is what is the value that they're proportional by? It's 20. And the way that I would say that is it's 20 centimeters per brick. Okay, so 20 of whatever y is your first one per whatever x is. It's per one brick. So we're kind of finding that unit rate that we've looked at before. So we're doing the 20 centimeters per brick. Let's see. One other thing I wanted to point out that they have in this section is that they bring up that x is an independent variable and y is dependent variable. Well, what does that mean? X is independent, meaning it doesn't really affects the y. X is on its own, whereas y is dependent on the x value. That's something you're going to learn about. That one's independent, one's dependent. That definition for say over and over and over the next couple years. But I wanted to bring it up, and so by the time you get to high school math, right, you're like, yeah, that's the independent variable, that's the dependent variable. Okay, so let's look at, they don't really write that part one. Do they write that? Okay, yeah, here it is. So the weight, so we're looking at these books or whatever it is over here. The weight of the stack of books depends on the number of books in the stack. Well, that makes sense, right? They depend on each other. Identify the constant of proportionality for this situation. Then use the constant of proportionality to find the weight of 11 books. So what do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books, and they weigh 15.75. So they want us to go, let's see, what order did they go in? The weight of the stack of the books depends on, so depends, the weight depends on the stack. So we're going to have the y value be the weight. Okay, does that make sense? It's like I want to flip the page, but I want to make sure. So the weight is going to be our y value because it depends on the x value. So here's kind of how that would be written out. So the constant of proportionality is going to be the weight of the stack divided by the number of books. And that way we can say it is so many pounds per book, right? So it's going to divide those and we're going to get 1.75 pounds per book. And that's going to be our unit rate for one. It's just our rate. It's also our constant of proportionality. And then they say, well, use that. How would I use that in order to find how much it would weigh for 11? Well, we know it's 1.75 pounds for one book. So how much would it be for 11 books? Well, think of it as 11 books and we're going to times them together, right? But the books would kind of cancel so that you just get the pounds, which is 11 times 1.75. So I like the way they write it out because they're making you see why the books disappears. Well, one is the 1.75 pounds per one book. Okay? And so we end up with 19.25 pounds. So we just times. And that's going to get us our, sometimes you have to divide, so be careful. But yeah, that's going to get us our answer. Let's see. Are there any other tricks that they kind of throw at you? They give you different things where you have to, again, find that constant of proportionality, and you want to make sure they are proportional. So I did each relationship, divided them, and they are all equal. And remember, if we have a graph, it must go through 0, 0, and be aligned to be proportional. And use the point. So what if we say we have a point 180 and we want the constant of proportionality? Well, we would take y divided by x, which is 80 to 1. And how would I represent that in terms with units on it? Whatever the 80 is, so this one happens to be 80 wing beats per 1 second. So you can add those in so you can explain what it means to be 80 per 1. So 80 wing beats per 1 second. So this section really is really similar to the last one. So when you're doing the homework, you're pretty much just doing a division and deciding which ones, or what that constant of proportionality is, y divided by x. All right, good luck.